Urgent Las Vegas Raiders fans. Do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here, we bring you daily videos with the latest Las Vegas Raiders updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Hey, Raiders Nation, brace yourselves because there's some major news coming out of Las Vegas, and if you're a true fan, you're going to want to hear every detail. This offseason has been a whirlwind of changes, and the Raiders are clearly signaling that they're serious about building a team capable of competing at the highest level. The big question now is, what does all this mean for the silver and black moving forward? Well, let's dive into what's been happening, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which, surprisingly, still shows signs of strength despite some upheaval. Now, I know what you're thinking. Last season, the Raiders finished near the bottom of the league standings, and yes, it was a tough year. But, here's the twist, amid all those struggles, there was one area that stood out, surprisingly, the defense, particularly the defensive line. Despite their overall struggles, the Raiders' defensive front was a bright spot. They battled through injuries, adversity, and a lack of depth, yet they managed to hold their own against some of the league's top offensive lines. That's no small feat in the NFL, especially considering how many teams falter under similar circumstances. What made this defensive line special, despite the team's overall struggles? Well, for starters, the young defensive ends really stepped up and showed promise. These guys, many of whom are still in the early stages of their careers, brought energy, speed, and a relentless attitude to the field. They played with a chip on their shoulder, and that kind of attitude is exactly what you need when facing some of the league's best defensive tackles. You've got to give credit to those young guys, they didn't back down, and they proved that they can be part of something bigger moving forward. But, as we all know, football is a game of adjustments, and the Raiders didn't stop there. They relied heavily on veteran presence on the interior, which was crucial in stabilizing the defensive line. Veterans, with their experience and football IQ, kept the unit organized and effective, even when injuries struck or when facing high-powered offenses. Players like Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, although primarily known for their pass-rushing prowess on the outside, contributed to a defensive mindset that prioritized resilience and grit. Now, here's the thing, you might be wondering about the roster changes. The Raiders, under their new regime, have made it clear that they're looking to evolve the team to match their new vision. That means some familiar faces from last year's squad are no longer part of the plans, despite their contributions. And that includes some key players on the defensive line. One of those players is none other than John Jenkins, a name that, if you've been following the Raiders for a while, you know well. Jenkins, a 12-year NFL veteran, spent 2 seasons with the team, playing in all 34 games he was available for, and starting in most of them. He was a steady presence, a guy who brought leadership and experience in the trenches. During his time with the Raiders, Jenkins made a tangible impact. He amassed over 100 tackles, with 7 of them being for a loss, and contributed with a couple of sacks, along with some pass deflections and even a defensive touchdown. That's the kind of versatility and durability you want from a veteran defensive lineman, someone who can be relied upon game after game. So, it was a bit of a shock when, during the recent offseason, the Raiders decided not to bring Jenkins back. It seemed like a sensible move at the time, especially with the team looking to inject fresh talent and youthful energy into the roster. But, here's the interesting part, life in the NFL is unpredictable, and Jenkins' story didn't end in Las Vegas. Just a few days ago, the Baltimore Ravens announced they had signed Jenkins to a 1-year deal. And that's significant because the Ravens are a team that's been knocking on the door of Super Bowl contention for a few seasons now. They've been building a tough, physical, and disciplined defense, and adding a veteran like Jenkins gives them some much-needed depth along their defensive line. And let's be honest, the Ravens' defense has been a force for years, but they're always looking for ways to improve, especially against high-powered offenses like the Chiefs and Bills. Now, Jenkins at almost 36 years old might not be the same player he was in his prime, but don't underestimate the value of experience. Sometimes, it's those veteran instincts and leadership that make all the difference in tight games. Jenkins' ability to read plays, clog running lanes, and provide mentorship to younger players can be invaluable, especially when you're in a playoff push or fighting for a division title. His time with the Raiders showed he could stay healthy and produce consistently, and that kind of professionalism is what teams covet in the postseason. It's also worth noting that Jenkins wasn't just a fill-in player, he was a key contributor to the Raiders' defense. He played in every game during his tenure there, which is a testament to his durability and commitment. His 107 tackles over 2 seasons are impressive for a defensive tackle, especially considering how much of an impact that position can have on controlling the line of scrimmage. His sacks, while modest, showed that he could be disruptive when needed. And his ability to defend passes and even score a defensive touchdown demonstrates his versatility and football IQ. So, why did the Raiders part ways? Well, the NFL is a business, and when a team is rebuilding or retooling, sacrifices are made. The Raiders' new front office and coaching staff are clearly prioritizing younger players and draft capital, aiming to build a sustainable, competitive roster over the next few seasons. Jenkins, being a mature player nearing the end of his career, wasn't part of that long-term vision anymore. However, his move to Baltimore could be a blessing in disguise, giving him a fresh start and a chance to contend with a team that's in win-now mode. This kind of roster shakeup is typical in the NFL, especially during the offseason, as teams try to find the right mix of youth, talent, and experience. For Raiders fans, it's a reminder that change is inevitable, but also that the team's core philosophy remains focused on building a strong, resilient defense. The young players stepping up, the veterans providing leadership, and the strategic moves in free agency all point to a franchise that's serious about returning to playoff contention. Looking ahead, there's plenty to be excited about. The Raiders have invested in their young talent on defense, and with the right coaching and development, those players can become core pieces for years to come. Meanwhile, the addition of veteran leaders like Jenkins to other teams shows how valuable experience truly is in this league. It's a reminder that even as some players move on, their impact remains, and new opportunities arise for those willing to keep grinding. Now, let's take a step back and analyze what this means for Las Vegas. The team is clearly in a phase of transition. They're trying to balance the youth movement with veteran leadership, and the defense, which was surprisingly solid last year, could be a real strength this season if the young players continue to develop. Plus, with a new coaching staff in place, probably emphasizing a more aggressive, disciplined approach, the Raiders are aiming to be more than just a team that struggles, they want to be contenders. And that brings us to the overall outlook for the upcoming season. The AFC West remains a fiercely competitive division, with the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos all making moves to improve. The Raiders will need to leverage their defense, special teams, and disciplined gameplay to climb back into playoff contention. Now, with some of the roster changes and the addition of promising young talent, there's a sense of optimism among fans that this could be a turning point. But it's also a season of patience, growth, and learning for a team that's been through a lot. In the end, the story of John Jenkins and the Raiders' defense is a microcosm of the NFL itself, constantly evolving, full of surprises, and driven by a relentless pursuit of greatness. Whether it's the young guys stepping up or veterans like Jenkins finding new homes and opportunities, each move is part of a bigger picture. And for Raiders fans, it's a reminder that the team's best days are still ahead, even if the journey there involves some twists and turns. So stay tuned, because the offseason is just getting started, and everything is on the table. The Raiders are rebuilding, reloading, and ready to fight for their place back at the top. The defense, in particular, looks like it will be a key factor in their success, or failure, and the moves they make now will shape the team's future for years to come. Keep your eyes open, because the silver and black are not done yet. They're coming back stronger, smarter, and more hungry than ever, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. And now, Las Vegas Raiders fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all these changes? Do you think the defense will bounce back and be a difference maker this season? How do you feel about the roster moves, especially letting go of veteran players like Jenkins? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Raiders themselves. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with even more updates, insider news, and in-depth analysis. So stay tuned, keep supporting your team, and let's keep this Raiders spirit alive as we gear up for what promises to be an exciting season ahead.